Well, folks, it's a short show on this Saturday, but still plenty to get to. As predicted, NFL free agency has stalled out, but we do have the NCAA tournament to talk about. And although it won't be much because I don't actually cover college basketball, my standings in the brackets pools will tell you that. We'll still hit on a few points anyway, because after all, it's definitely the biggest thing going on right now. Also, Major League Baseball, they opened up their season in another country for the second straight year and the 10th time in the last quarter century. So that's going to be an incoming rant for me. And finally, after months and months of speculation, the Boston Celtics were sold on Thursday for a record $6.1 billion. I won't try and pretend that I know all of the financial aspects of it, but I will take a stab at what it might mean for the team going forward. The Terranadome is all new, and it starts right now. Terranadome. Minnesota was doomed from the start. I mean, this was a ass whooping. There's nothing short of that. It was a complete ass whooping. But I will tell you what, my friend, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And it is time to get them back in the AFC Championship game. I believe that. Listen, you're right about Derrick Henry, especially in cold weather. No one's going to want to tackle that guy. So it's going to be imperative for the Buffalo Bills to jump out early in this game and get a lead and force Lamar Jackson to have to play from behind. They can do that. They're going to win this game. Mention things that we love to hear, like we're getting the entitlement out of our team, and we're going to earn the opportunity to come into this building every day. I absolutely love that. One thing I will say for sure, yes, they definitely need to go and spend some friggin' money. They're going to have the most cap space in the league, and I'm going to kill them every week on this show until they spend money. Terranadome, and it starts right now. Well, guys, I think this is probably going to be the shortest show that I've done in a long time and for a long time. Of course, my name is Scott. It's the Terranadome. It's Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Thank you, as always, for the support and for the time, and especially for your feedback. I've had random people at work coming up to me, and I don't know how good of a thing this is, but they say, hey, I stumbled across your YouTube channel. You're pretty good. I'm like, all right, thanks, man. Appreciate that. So anyway, here we go. So NCAA tournament's in full swing, right? We'll just get right into it. This thing's a big spectacle, one of the biggest events of the year, of course. And nothing brings together the country like the degenerate gamblers, the college kids, and the people that want to be proud of their alma maters, quite like the NCAA March Madness tournament. Of course, and one thing I will tell you, at least in my experience, I've been kind of doing the gambling thing on this for quite some time. This year, compared to previous years, especially I feel like the last few, in comparison to this year, very few upsets in the first round in this particular tournament, folks. If you pick straight chalk, you're in pretty good shape here, right? So we did have two 12 seeds beat two 5 seeds, and I feel like, yeah, this happens pretty much every year. You got a couple of 12 seeds. 5 seed shows up. They think they're one of the better teams in the country, and they get steamrolled by a mid-major. It's exactly what happened this time. First one to go down was the McNeese. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you that I know who McNeese is, what state they're from, or what their mascot is. But they went in to the Ant, which is really the Dunk, which is really the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island, and they take down the 5 seed Clemson Tigers 69-67. The opening, I believe that was the second game of the tournament, or the third. It was the second game of the day in Providence on Thursday, the opening day of the tournament. And then later on, you had on Friday, same time slot, number 12, Colorado State, obviously in a different region. Don't really care about the regions right now, guys. Colorado State defeats 5-seeded Memphis 78-70. Those were the biggest upsets, which means that all of the ones, all of the twos, all of the threes, and all of the 4 seeds all won their games. That has not happened in a very, very long time, folks. So naturally, a lot of the gamblers are pissed. Not a lot of profit to be made. I'm going to tell you the truth. I took a real big swing because Clemson was down in that game to McNeese 40-18 at one point. And as you can see, it ended up being 69-67 the final. When they were down 40-18, they were plus 2,000 to win that game. I threw $15 on it just for the hell of it. And I was that close to $300, but not meant to be on that day. Also, if you want to call them upsets, we had tens versus sevens and they split. That's a bowling joke. The tens and the sevens, they split. Two of the tens won and two of the sevens won in the 7 versus 10 matchups. And the only other upset that I could find, because I don't count 9 versus 8 as an upset. They're the same seed, right? I think a lot of people, actually, the first game of the tournament, and I know somebody very well that had Louisville actually winning the thing in one of their brackets, but Louisville got bounced by Creighton, 8 seed versus 9, the very first game of the tournament in Providence, Rhode Island. Apparently, 54% of people's brackets got busted on that game alone. Never doubt the Creighton, I think Creighton Blue Jays, right? Maybe I know more than I think about this. But basically, oh yeah, and number 11 Drake beat number 6 Missouri 67-60. That was also yesterday. No, that was on Thursday. But either way, if you mostly went straight chalk, like I said before, if you went straight chalk on your brackets, it means you just picked all the favorites. You're in pretty good shape at this point, to be completely honest. Locally, here in Rhode Island or in New England, we really only had one representative in this tournament, and it was the Bryant Bulldogs of the Ivy League. So naturally, they were going to get a low seed. They get a 15 seed. They were 17.5 to 18.5 point underdogs, depending on where you looked and where you bet them. And they did not cover that. They get smoked by Michigan State. Michigan State, one of the best teams in the tournament, a number 2 seed, 87-62 last night. First round is complete. We're down to the round of 32 already. What's cool, and I already mentioned this, but what's cool is that here in Providence, for the first time since 2016, we had games on Thursday and Friday. And of course, they went to the college insiders and the schools first and all that stuff. You had to be a member of like NCAA insider, something like that. By the time they got to the general public, first of all, by the time they were announced by our local news networks here, they was already sold out. And even then, it was 250 for one day and I think 400 for both days or something like that. And now for the scalpers, if you went on there, let's say beginning of this week and you wanted to go, I heard lower bowl seats were going for $1,400 for an entire day. It's college basketball. That's ridiculous. This isn't the World Series. This isn't the NHL playoffs. It's college freaking basketball. I know you guys are rabid, but give me a freaking break. So I wasn't going to go. Friends and I tossed around the idea, but then when you see it's 250 for one day, it's like, eh. Because you only get 2 games. Because my buddy Tyler, shout out to you, Tyler. I know you listen to the show. My buddy Tyler went to the first 2 games in Providence on Thursday. And by the time those got to the general public, it was 250 for those 2 games. I know Tyler got a better deal on it, though, as he's a smart boy. So Tyler enjoyed himself. I know that. Anyway, if you guys are kind of thinking about the gambling aspect of it, I don't have much for you because I'm not doing very well, right? But I will tell you this much. 31% of the users on NCAA.com, and of course you can do this on ESPN, you can do it on Yahoo, you can do it on Sleeper, which I'm doing one on, you can do it on CBS Sports, which I'm running a pool on, and I'm not doing well in that either. 31% of users of NCAA.com's bracket challenge or whatever, they picked the Duke Blue Devils to win this tournament. Cooper Flagg, who I believe is the best player in the country, as far as I know, was injured in, I believe, the semifinals of the conference tournament that they were in. I guess he's back now, so probably no worries. Duke won their game like 93-49 yesterday in the opening round against the 16 seed. So apparently, maybe Duke's not a bad pick then. I always go against the grain. Last year, when pretty much everybody had UConn, I could have won my pool, and I would have beat about 40 people if Purdue had simply won that game. But of course, UConn won, so like a bunch of people split the money because everybody had UConn. I tend to go against the grain. I will tell you that it was 31% on NCAA.com, 33% of the brackets in my 3 pools, which is like a total of 33 brackets altogether. It's kind of a sad year, really. 11 of those 33 brackets also picked Duke to win it all. It's fun. I wish I had the time or the brain capacity to get into this and follow it all year because this is fun. Okay. This is not, I will say this and I will give this to the college game. It is not like the pros. It is not like the NBA. I make this point every year. I make it all the time, but you have to play fundamental basketball if you're going to win these games. You have to play your pick and rolls. You have to figure out if you want to play zone or man to man. And yeah, these kids aren't that good at jacking up threes. So not every two out of every three possessions ends in a 3-point shot in these games for the most part. So it's refreshing to watch. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks. I will give you my two bets pre-tournament, and because these two teams are still in it, you can still get them. I'm assuming not nearly as good of a price, but I laid a few sawbucks on Houston, number one seed, one of the number one seeds, at plus 550. A few sawbucks, about $30. And I laid a sawbuck on Michigan State at plus 2,200. I also like St. John's as a dark horse to win this tournament as well. And I can tell you, here in New England, and a lot of the people in my brackets love Rick Pitino for whatever reason. And a lot of us have picked St. John's in our brackets as well. It's a fun time, folks. We'll obviously be talking about it a little bit more here going forward. Like I said, second round of the tournament starts today and ends tomorrow. And by Wednesday, when we come back and we do our MLB preview show, we will be down to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA Tournament. So definitely stay tuned if you're into that sort of thing, or even if you got a little bit of cheddar on the line, because it's fun, right? We have fun. So what's less fun to talk about? And I know that I switched these in the order of the open, but let's talk about the Boston Celtics being sold, right? That probably needs to be talked about first. So the Boston Celtics were sold to a man by the name of William Chisholm, who is a Massachusetts native. He's the co-founder of the Symphony Technology Group. It goes for $6.1 billion. It's the highest valuation of any North American professional sports franchise ever sold. So congratulations to Wyc Grousbeck, the leader of the selling ownership group, because his group bought this team in 2002 for $360 million. That's quite a return on investment, even if you counter in inflation, of course. That's still quite the ROI. To Wyc's credit, he said that I want to sell off the assets, but I still want to remain the figurehead in place. He will remain on as the CEO through 2027-2028 season. And therefore, just because of this, I don't think that necessarily the attitude that this team has adopted over the last few seasons, which is spend, 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 spend. We don't care about the luxury tax or the second luxury tax. We just want to win championships. I want to believe that it's going to stay in place at least through 2027, 2028. But I'm about to tell you why I don't think that is. I want to believe it. I'm not so sure. So the Symphony Technology Group was founded in 2002, coincidentally. They're a private equity firm. And their description of themselves is different than what I'm about to tell you. They buy out companies and they combine those companies in their platforms with other services of other companies that they've bought, and it's all for profit. In other words, they're in the business of making money, not spending money. They're in the business of making it. So be forewarned, okay? This leads me to believe that once Wyc is out of the picture, the approach to spend and acquire to consistently compete for championships is going to go out the window. Enjoy this right now while you have it, Celtics fans. I'm warning you. Here's why. Starting next season, the Supermax contract for Jason Tatum kicks in, and Jaylen Brown's average annual value between those two, your two star players, they will make a combined $119.9 million alone next season. That's 60% of the salary cap on two players. That's just between the two of themselves. Their projected cap space going into the 2025-2026 season, you won't believe me when I tell you this, but it's negative $107 million. Negative $107 million. Yes. And their estimated tax bill, which is the real crux of the situation, because without this tax bill, this team is still very profitable. But the tax bill for 2025-2026, and this is what there would only be 11 signed players on a 12-man roster at this point, so they're going to need to add something in here. The estimated tax bill right now for 2025-2026 is $219.4 million. That's not profitable. It's not profitable. And that's going to be a problem. That's just taxes on top of players' salaries. Now, Kristaps Porzingis and Peyton Pritchard go off the books the year after that, and that basically would get them out of those tax penalties. But they're only going to have 9 players signed to the roster at that point, so we know that that's not really an accurate number. Now, Bill Chisholm, again, co-founder of the Symphony Technology Group that just bought your Boston Celtics for $6.1 billion. He is branded as a lifelong Celtics fan, and he says he wants to build a new arena here. First of all, fat chance that's going to happen because where the hell are you going to put it in Boston? If you guys have been to Boston, you know there's nowhere to put an arena. So that's just for starters. And as much as I would like him to take him at his word, how much can you trust a billionaire? How much can you trust a billionaire? You really, I mean, some of you want to go to the political angle when I say that. I'm not touching that, but it's a valid question. How much can you trust a billionaire? So let's see what they do with the roster heading into next season because that's important, guys. So before we get too far ahead, let's see what they do there. Let me go back to the positive real quick because as much as I love to harp on it because it's more fun to bitch, let's go back to the positive. For what it is worth, I still do believe that they're going to win their second straight championship this year. That's the positive. I think they can beat the Thunder in a 7-game series. I think at some point, the fact that the Celtics have been there, done that, and the Thunder, who have a loaded and younger roster, at some point, the fact that they don't have the experience to make deep playoff runs because they haven't before. At some point, they may break down mentally or physically. I still like the Celtics for a second straight championship this year, but be forewarned. Porzingis is signed through next season. I think they're going to try really, really hard to move him. I think that Kristaps Porzingis is out the door after this season because they need to get out from under that $30.7 million cap hit in 2025-2026 because I do believe that would take them out of that second window that they can't cross with the luxury tax, which would decrease their penalty substantially if they can get out from under Porzingis' contract. The other one that's going to be an albatross for them is Jrue Holiday, who I love Jrue Holiday. We all do. He's perfect for this team. He's perfect in the role that he's in when he's healthy. This year, he hasn't been healthy that much. The knees are starting to go on him. He's already 34. Seems like the body's breaking down a bit, right? But they're on the hook through at least 2026, 2027 with Holiday, and he's got a player option for $37.2 million in what would be his age 37 season in 2027, 2028. And if you think for a second that a 37-year-old guy who's a number 3 at best on a team, especially at that point in his career, if you think he's going to opt out at $37 million, you're out of your mind. There's no chance. So unless they find a way to move Jrue Holiday, who we love, but the contract is going to be a problem here. They're on the hook through 2027, 2028 with him. That one's the one that I think haunts the Celtics. Here's my overall point. Because you may be wondering, what's that total of players' salary tax problem plus the tax, that luxury tax bill that they're going to have to pay, which I told you right now is an estimated $219.4 million. Well, how much do the Celtics actually make every year, right? They should still be able to turn a profit. You'd be wrong, my friends. You would be wrong. And that's why I think that something's got to give after this season. That is because on top of that $219.4 million tax hit plus $262 million in salary, that is $481.4 million in expenditures for this team. The Boston Celtics, I just told you, 481.4 projected spending dollars. 481.4 million going into next season. So, Scott, how much do the Celtics actually make? Average annual revenue, right? How much do they bring in? You would think it would be close to $1 billion a year if you're going to spend that much, right? They try to double their money. I was surprised to see that during last season, the 2023 to 2024 season, the annual revenue for the Celtics was only $457 million. So even if that goes up by $20 million this season, are they willing to lose millions of dollars to put the best players on the court at their dollar values? The answer is no, folks. These are not people that have made their money by spending it. So keep this in mind. Enjoy it while it's happening right now, because I got a feeling that it's not going to be the same this time next year. So there you go. That's my piece on the Celtics, bought by a guy who says he's committed, but by a company that ultimately is more concerned with making money. So just keep that in mind. One more item on the docket. That's it. Slow show today, guys. We're not going to talk about how the Bruins, although we will get to it because the end of the season's coming, thankfully, mercifully for the Bruins. The Bruins have lost 12 out of 15 games. They won the 2 right after they traded Brad Marchand, but they've lost 12 out of 15 games. We're not going to talk about them. What we are going to talk about, especially more moving forward, is the fact that we have got a baseball season to look forward to. And you can hear it in my voice. I'm actually excited about it. I told you I am bullish on these Boston Red Sox. I've even bet that they will win more than 87 games. I believe they're a 90-win team right now. But you need to sign Garrett Crochet. But more on that next week. We're going to do our baseball preview episode. It's just going to be me this time. My 2 guys, Nick and Dave, they're stuck at a job. So it's just going to be me this time. That episode will air next Wednesday. Opening day's next Thursday. But is it really opening day? Because it's not. Because the MLB opened its season in Japan on March 17th and March 18th. Here's my piece on that. First of all, America's pastime is opening up in Japan. And this is the 10th time in the last 26 years that the American pastime has opened its season somewhere other than the United States of America. That is not right. Second, the Cubs and the Dodgers were the 2 teams that played those games. But then those games count towards their regular season total. But then they go back to spring training for another 10 days? Make it make sense, Major League Baseball. Make it make sense, would you? Stupid. Nonsensical. What are we doing here? Okay? And listen, my last piece. I get them wanting to grow the game. I totally get them wanting to grow the game. Of course, it's good for the game. But Japan themselves have their own baseball leagues that they enjoy very much and are very passionate about. They don't care. Listen, they care more than they used to, right? But they don't care nearly as much about Major League Baseball as they do the Nippon Ham Fighters, right? It's cool, though. It's cool that you want to have their homegrown stars like Ohtani and like Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki. All those guys are on the Dodgers. So, yeah, that's cool because all 3 of those, naturally, the Dodgers lined up those 2 guys to pitch those 2 games. That's what happened. Ohtani homered in the second game. I think he had an RBI double in the first. So it's exactly, that's great. That's cool. That's awesome. It shouldn't count towards the regular season. You want to do international series. You're making the Red Sox go to Mexico on the 24th and the 25th. Why not do it that way? Why does it have to count? That's not opening day. Opening day is when I can take a day out of work, or at least when I was a kid, I could come home from school and I could turn on game after game after game on ESPN, where I watch the Red Sox play the Orioles at Camden Yards in early April, because that's when it used to be and that's when it always used to be. Of course, now it's, take a day off and I've got 4 different screens, a multi-viewer, MLB TV. We're all set to go. But why can't that be opening day? Thursday, March 27th. Why is it not that day? Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I'm just a curmudgeon. But it just doesn't sit well with me, okay? So that's it, guys. That's the show. Real quick one. Actually, not as nearly as quick as I thought it was going to be. But hey, I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Tell people about the show, would you? We're doing good things here, and it's only going to get better. My schedule is going to get a little crazy coming up in the next couple of weeks, but we will continue to put out shows weekly. I also want to thank my good friends over in the United Kingdom for all of their help as well. And those of you that leave comments on almost every episode, just know that I always see them. I always appreciate them very much. Always feel free to criticize, though. Don't be afraid. So We'll be back. It'll be next Wednesday. It'll probably be about an hour long. The MLB preview show. Always a good one. Don't want to miss that. My name is Scott. It's the Terranadome. Thank you so much, as always. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. It's a beautiful one up here in New England. We will catch you next week on the Terranadome. Peace.